What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Engvall. I am your host today, and I'm going to be talking to one of my favorite people from our Discord community. One of the goals for this 5th year of the podcast is to show you the people in our community that make it such a great place to hang out, to hop on for community calls, to join our trivia nights, to join our watch parties when we watch movies together from a distance. All those things that happen within our community that I think really just make it a very special place on the internet. And to me, honestly, my favorite place. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I find myself spending more time in the Discord and with this group of people than I do with traditional social media at this point. So this person that I'm about to introduce you to, you might know, you should know. He's a great individual. He's one of the people that helps make the community just an incredible place. And he does some amazing custom sneakers and does some amazing restorations. Today, I get to sit down and talk with my friend Marrio, aka Marrio Restores. You're going to learn a lot about the restoration game, about the customization game, and you're going to hear about some interesting stuff that he's got in the works that I'm super excited to hear about. And I've even got some kicks that are headed his way. So we'll get to talk about that too. So I hope you enjoy the show.
On a shake-off starts. Oh, one of those. LeBron James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up? What up? Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast. I got my guy, Marrio Restores, with me. You know him if you've been in the Discord. I mean, honestly, I feel like you're probably as active in the Discord as all of us hosts combined. I feel like between the morning motivation and all the people you've done customs for, all the cleanings you've done, trivia nights, all that community calls, people probably know your face in the Discord just as much as they do everybody else on the podcast. So this is just kind of long overdue. We've talked about, I swear, I text Marrio probably, I don't know, we probably text once a week, once every couple of weeks. And I feel like we have this conversation about getting you on the podcast in some way 1,000 times. And I know you've been on certain parts and we've done a lot of stuff and you've been on a couple times for other things, but this is the first kind of time I'm getting to just flip the camera on, flip the mic on and talk to you. So welcome to the show. If you don't know who Marrio is, one, you need to get in the Discord. It'll be the first link wherever you're listening or watching this. And two, Marrio Restores, you've got prideful moment for me. You were talking about King's Jordan 1 customs on local Good Day Sacramento. I don't know if you can get more famous. Just don't forget, your friends when you're, up there on the top in those, what are those suites that you get to watch the games from in the future? Because I'm sure you'll be up there pretty soon.
Man.
But how you doing, man?
Yeah, that was an awesome time. I'm doing great, man. Just been busy. It's been busy since doing that segment. It's business has been
nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, man, it's been a little crazy. We've been off for, actually, this is the longest break I've taken from podcasting in probably 6 years or so. And not even that it was that long. It's, basically a month or so, month, give or take a week. We're going to get back into the regular episodes again, but I just personally needed some time to disconnect a little bit, recharge, get with family, see some folks, build back up and come at it strong again. So I figured no better way to do that than to have you on as, one of the mainstays in the community. So just wanted to see what you're working on. I'm sure a lot of people probably saw the Jordan 1 custom, but just for those that maybe are just tuning in for the first time, tell us about that whole experience. Obviously Kings didn't last through the playoffs like you and I would have wanted them to, But I think it was a crazy opportunity for you that kind of just happened all in one fell swoop with them making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it was actually pretty crazy. My one of my best friends, lifelong best friend, called me out of nowhere. Hey, I'm going game 1. I don't care what the cost is. I haven't got a ticket yet, but I'm going. I'm gonna buy these shoes, and I want a King's Custom. And I'm just like, okay, well, what do you want? And he was all like, I want a King's Custom, and just make it pop. I was like, okay. So as soon as he got him in, he rushed him over, and I just kind of already knew what I wanted to do because I had a couple of days buffer in between to like kind of think about ideas. And when I looked at it, I was just like, all right, there's just some things I have to get on there. And the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted the base, the entire base was the King statement jersey, the black, it says SAC across it. And it has like a certain design on the background of the jersey. And I was all like, I'm using that for the base. And then I was just like, man, I'm just going to make this about the entire year. Because the entire year was crazy. There was so many different milestones, records, just, the 40 wins, just exceeding all expectations of Kings fans, like all through California and worldwide, So I knew I had to get all those milestones on there. Of course, Light the Beam, because that just took over everything.
Yep.
It took over everything. There is literally like maybe 8 or 9 Light the Beam songs. Yeah. They're all different and they're all awesome. But it took over, man. And my friend wore them. I gave him a bunch of business cards, take to the game. And he passed them all out. He went to every cameraman, news anchor. He was all like, my boy did these. He was like, you got to check them out. And it went wild,
Yep.
The news anchor who I was on the segment with, she contacted me. Hey, I love the customs. I just saw the King's Custom. You want to do a live segment? And at first I was just like, oh, wow, like, this is great, And I hit my friend up. I was like, I need your shoes. Like, you got to bring them back to me because this is what's going on. And he was super happy for me. He was like, yeah, no problem, man. I got a bunch of other local people that I've done work for to get their shoes so I could have a couple with me. And, he came over and showed them off, and it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, man, that was super dope to see. I was stoked for you just to like, I feel like everybody, you might not be from Sacramento or, you might not know the station or whatever, but everybody knows that like local, like the true local morning news station, right? Like that's who we're talking about here. And like, I feel like every town and every city has that where it's like, there's like the people that like do the news that are like, super tied into like all the big news, channels and organizations. And it's very kind of cookie cutter and like very like almost like pre-programmed, right? They don't have a lot of freedom to do much interesting stuff locally. And this is like the exact opposite of that. It's like the like, they're going to find you if you're in Sacramento and you're doing cool shit, they're going to find you. And they did, like it was super dope. And to me, like as a, texting you about it before it was happening, I was just like it's like one part of me is like, yeah, it's about damn time, and then part of me is like, yeah, this is perfect, right? Like going into the playoffs, and I think too, like, it's really interesting to be a Kings fan, and like I think people can relate to whether you love the Kings, hate the Kings, whatever, like it's one of those situations where when you have a drought for so long and when you're coming off of, like the last time we were really seriously in the playoffs, we had one of the best teams in the league. Like, you know, with the exception of like, what was it, 07 or whatever, where we kind of had a little bit of a fluke season, in my opinion,
06,
right?
07.
But like prior to that is like 2002, 2003, 2004, you know, 2001, like there's like a 4 or 5 year run there where you had, you know, Jason Williams, Weber, Bibby and Weber, Vladi, Peja, like the Kings, right? The Kings team that everyone that watches basketball. And then we just kind of fell off really hard. Obviously with Kevin Martin, you know, in that like 07, 08 era, we had like a team that made the playoffs, but it wasn't, we all knew there was no chance deep down, I think. And then we had all of this stuff around like the team leaving Sacramento and moving to Seattle or potentially Vegas, like all the BS that we've been through as fans. And like, maybe you can't relate to that, you know, if you're a fan of one of the like staple, you know, Lakers, Knicks, Bulls type of teams, but like every other team for the most part has had those like long stretches of really struggling. And it just, it sounds, you know, touche or cliche to say it or pun, but like it lit up the city. Like it changed. This team this year changed everything about it. Oh, yeah. And it's just so cool to see you get that opportunity. You know, like I'm sure like, you know, I didn't even think about like the fact that you're saying like, you know, you don't have it's not like you're making customs to just sit on them and let them sit in the closet, right? You're making customs for people. Yeah. So how do you showcase your work when it's all been handed off to the buyers, right? It's not like you're like, I'm going to make this just to like put it on the wall. It's like, no, I'm going to make this to sell so I could do the next one and keep this going, you know? So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I had just sent out like 2 pairs that were just really, really cool. And I was just like, man, I wish I had those to show off. But you know, that's just how it is, and hopefully next time I'll be able to do a different custom for them.
Yeah, man. So I'm looking forward to you know, we've been talking about Tahoe for a long time, and I think you probably got some cool stuff in the works to talk about. If you don't know, there's I forget what it is called, but it's like the celebrity amateur pro-am that happens up at Tahoe. Yeah. If you're from Northern California, it's been a thing for a long time, right? Like it's like 49ers football in Rockland and training camp at Sierra College type levels of like every kid goes to it at some point in their life. And, you know, I've been like twice, but like when I was like 12, 13 years old, you know, like you kind of move away from it, but like it's the celebrity pro-am golf tournament that you see every year with, I mean, you name it, right? Any athlete that plays golf at a decent level is there. You know, you've always got the Bill Murrays or, you know, like the Michael Jordan, you know, would show up for years and years, right? Jerry Rice. Like, so let's talk about what you got in the works for that. What I know you probably don't want to give away it all, but I want to build up some hype for this because I want to get some people up there this year.
Last year was my first year, and it was awesome. It was my first golf event, and I just wanted to stand out. So I got me a pair of all white Air Jordan 1 Low golf shoes, and I painted them and dyed them like Big Bird yellow, just so I could stand out. I mean, I'm a big guy. I wear a size 16 shoe. So I was just like, all right, they're going to notice my shoes. And I bought my tickets way in advance, went out there, and I spent the entire day just walking around, handing out business cards, talking with athletes. I was able to talk with Marshall Falk, and I was able to meet with the Eastside Golf guys because they were there hanging out with CC Sabathia. Nice. You know, the Jordan Brand Connect and everything. So it was awesome. And I was just like, all right, from now on, I'm going. Like, one, it's a great event, and the golf course is like awesome. It's right off the lake. in Lake Tahoe, and there's no bad views anywhere, you know? And you get there on certain days, you're able to talk and kind of BS with the athletes and the actors and the different correspondents and everything. And it was cool. You know, I like it, and I'm going to go again this year. And I got a couple of things planned for it, you know, some type of big raffle, you know, that I'm going to lay out later on my Instagram. But yeah, no, it's going to be big this year.
So it happens. I wanted to get ahead of this. That's why I'm like, there's a couple things that I wanted to have Marrio come on and talk about. One is this event runs like probably like 12th or 13th through the 16th of July. Right. So if you're not from around here, Tahoe is like the Valley, California is super hot in the middle of July. Like Sacramento will be in the upper 90s for sure. But Tahoe will be like 75 with like a cool breeze coming off the lake. It's insane.
Beautiful.
And yeah, like it's just a cool, like kind of, just a cool vibe. It's always been really chill. I know it's gotten a little like busier over the last like 4 or 5 years, especially, but, or I guess maybe 10 years, but I think the other thing about it is like, we're probably going to do like some sort of like sneaker history community meetup up there. Try to get together, and, there's plenty of golf shoes that have been coming out. Mario's been doing custom. So like, I'm sure we can all show out a little bit. But we'll get the details in the Discord in the next few weeks. So we have about a month or so to plan it out. And, but yeah, like that's definitely something I'm looking forward to as well. Just seeing what you do up there and, like just enjoying connecting with everybody again. So, but the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, if you don't know, like Marrio does like full on restorations, customs, like the works, right? Like basically we'll save a shoe from, instant, from like basically the perils of like the dumpster and turn it into something that you'd be happy to wear. So I actually bought a handful, 4 pairs of shoes, off of eBay recently. I text Marrio and said, hey, I don't know what these look like, but there's 2 pairs out of these 4 that like I've been wanting for a really long time. The guy didn't want much for them. I text Marrio and said, what do you think? Can you make some magic happen with these? He's like, no problem. So I, of course, offered the guy about $10 or $20 less than what he was asking for. And he accepted. So they just showed up recently. And I'm going to probably create a separate video for this on the YouTube channel. But I wanted to talk to Marrio about it and kind of introduce that aspect of it, because one, I wanted to like have you kind of explain like how this process works from, like I think people, they don't realize like how much it costs to do this stuff for one, and they don't realize how much time goes into things, especially sourcing other shoes if you need to do some sort of sole swap or a full on like restoration job. So you mentioned, buying stuff off of eBay, which obviously is a lot, most of us land on eBay for the used stuff specifically. But like, I think for you, you're kind of, it's probably got to be hard for you to find stuff in your size, but I guess share that story you were just talking about with me before we hit record around those Jordan 1s that you picked up and like the process of like going through that and the timeline that it takes. And then I think talk about how that plays into like how, if somebody hits you up and it's like, hey, can you do this restoration for me? The process of like acquiring the right pieces to get it all done. 'Cause that's gotta be a total, I mean, it makes me like, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about all the stress that would go along with that, man.
Yeah, no, it just depends on it depends on the customer. If they're just like, oh, hey, I have this limit I'm willing to spend on a donor for like a midsole swap or anything like that, it's just like, okay. So I try to tell them, all right, do the legwork. I'll help you out when I can. I'll try to find it for you. And we'll meet somewhere in the middle. And sometimes it just takes forever to find the right size that is going to match up perfectly to where it's just like, all right, I can just take this off. I don't have to Dremel it down. I don't have to cut anything off. It snapped together like a puzzle, you know? But then there's times where it's just like, all right, this is all I can find, and you're not finding anything, so we got to make this work. And it's a little bit over what your limit is, but it's either don't get the donor and keep it pushing, or I'll make it work, you know? But it just, sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah.
You know? It takes a long time, and it could be other things of like, oh, hey, I need this paint match. And color matching is not a quick thing to do. It's just not, oh, hey, I have this Katrina 3, this Air Jordan Katrina 3. It's not just like a fire red.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a little bit of metallic, like flakes in the midsole paint. So it's just like, okay, I got to find the right shade. I got to find the right metallic flakes to use. It can get time consuming, but it's fun. You know, it's awesome, and I love it. I love doing it.
So that makes me think, like, with the, you know, if we're thinking of like Nikes and Jordans, I don't think people realize like that the colors, I mean, and maybe you could answer this. It seems like there's probably some standard colors, right? Like, you know, fire red, cement gray, all those, like, hey, these show up on a lot of different shoes. But I'm assuming there's still a lot of variation from like shoe to shoe or era to era, right? Where you're like, you know, like, I guess like, I didn't even think about that, to be honest. Like, I think a lot about the midsoles and like, you know, how like the risk of, hey, if I'm going to have you do a restoration, yeah, it might be more expensive to source a new midsole and, you know, kind of do the whole, go the extra mile, I guess. But like, is it worth taking the risk of having you like fix it up and still take the chance on an old midsole that has a chance to crumble or crack or, you know, like show the aging and all that stuff. So it's definitely one of those things that I think about. But like with the colors, are you, man, like I didn't even think about that. I don't know. Like, are you able to like basically just work through and like, I'm sure at this point you've done enough restorations where you're like, oh, I've kind of got the formula down for these colors and these, you know, standard ones that we've done and seen. But like, how often are those colors off, like from what people think they are?
That's the thing. It changes even with retros, re-releases. So all the, like, say all the black cement 3s, all of them have a different finish. Like the last 4 that have released, some are matte, some have a high gloss, some have a semi gloss, like things like that. But with certain colors, like especially with older models, you have to take in, okay, the shoe has aged on top of, oh, hey, now you have to paint match it. So it's just like, all right, you're trying to paint match something that is sun dyed on top of, oh, hey, this shoe is 20 years old.
Yep.
And it's just like, okay, like you have to grab whatever image you can find of like a dead stock pair. And it's just like, all right, I have to mirror that, but then make it look to where it's not like fully like brand new repainted on what you're painting on.
Yeah.
You know, you have to give it an aged look because of course it's a 20-year-old shoe, but then you still want it to look brand new. It's kind of weird like that, but with certain colors, it's just it's team red, it's varsity red, it's pro red, it's red. Like you learn your shades and your tones and different things like that. It helps out a lot. I was when I first started, I didn't know anything, and I was just like, okay, like what do I do? Like where do I go? How do I find this information? And then just picking up things from people I've watched or read or looked at different magazines, and it's just like, okay, well, this like M Joe 23 Dan.
Yeah.
He's somewhat local. I think he's Stockton.
Yep.
I think he's out in Stockton. But his comparison videos helped me out so much in the beginning, especially with the black cement threes with the different finishes. And it just, like, watching that stuff helped me out so much. And now I can I've done so many repaints, I've done so many color matching to where it's not really that hard for me anymore. But every once in a while I get tripped up and it's just like, all right, I just spent like an entire day learning how to do a single color.
Yeah.
You know? but it's fun. But it's fun. Man. You know?
Well, yeah, Marvin's been on the show definitely once, maybe twice. And I did an episode of his, like when he was doing the interview series. I was on his Instagram as MJO23Dan. But yeah, like I say this all the time, but I am like, I'm jealous that like people have the time and energy and attention to detail to be able to do those things, because I just can't. Like my brain just hits like a limit. It's like bouncing off a rev limiter or something, you know, like I can't get that deep into it. And I love seeing it and I love knowing the difference between them, because, you know, you could probably tell the audience a lot about the difference in quality from year to year to year, where like I tend to just default to like, oh, that's a shoe that I like. I don't want to say I don't care about the quality, but like if it's something I really want, I just am like, man, I'm just going to get it and hope that it's not terrible. Right. And sometimes you get it and it's so terrible. The Nike Air Up Vac Tech that they did in 2013 or whatever. I wanted that shoe so badly as a kid. They finally brought it back, and then they did this like crazy, like no stitch kind of vacuum tech upper, and got them on sale because nobody was buying them. You know, this is the Orlando colorway, so Penny wore it, and it was like, oh, this is so dope.
Yeah.
And I wore that shoe for like a day, 2 days at most, and it hurt my feet so bad that I put them on eBay and was like, I'm done with them. I don't even want to wear them again. It was so frustrating. But yeah, to be able to like I think it's like what you do, the details of what like Marvin does, like I think it's insane. I love you guys both, but like I cannot like the amount of frustration I would have to go through to get from point A to point B the way you do with your work is like, it's mind blowing to me. I could do a lot of things, but like, that's one thing that like, I just don't have the patience or the attention to detail to, like, you know, and I'm sure like there's things that you do that I can't even think of, but I like the first thing that came to mind is like painting a car to me is like, I'm so impatient that I'm not like, when I've done it in the past, like I'm not putting in all the effort to get it perfect the way you're supposed to. And it always shows in the end where it's like, damn, I should have just been patient and did the work and do it right.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of, you know, like it just reminded me of all that and thinking like, you probably have some models and some colorways that you're like, you know, yeah, that one's just not it for me. Like, what are your favorite shoes to work on as like, I guess like in two ways, like what's your favorite kind of shoe to customize? And then what's your favorite shoe to like, where you're like the restoration aspect of it, where you're like, oh, I've brought this back to a point where somebody's going to wear it proudly.
Yeah. I would say with restoration, like you can, anyone could clean a leather shoe. Anyone could clean a leather shoe. You really show your bars on a suede shoe. It could be old, it could be dried out, it could be hard or crusty. Like bringing back a suede shoe, like I don't care the brand, the cost, anything at all. Silhouette doesn't matter. Like if you could bring back good suede, not nubuck, not durbuck, suede. If you could bring back some suede shoes to where you have that before and after, and everyone is just like, damn, like he did that.
Yep.
You know, like I love that. I love restoring suede shoes. Suede shoes are just awesome to me. And with customizing, I love customizing ones. You know, it just they're of course they're an awesome shoe.
Yep.
You know, so regardless if it's the highs, lows, mids, golf shoes, you know, it's really easy to tape off. It's really easy to, if I need to remove a swoosh, I'll remove a swoosh. You know, it's really easy to kind of like plan out what you're going to do before it, because there's so many different computer programs to where it's just like, all right, I'm going to throw this in Procreate and I'm going to get my colors down and I'm going to see what works and doesn't work. And I'll do that from time to time. And I have a couple of people where it's just like, hey, what do you guys think? And they'll just be like, well, I like that one. I like this one. We'll put that one with this. And I take their opinion in and it's just like, all right, well, what can I do with it? And then I just go about it. It's just like, all right, this came in together really good, really nice. But ones and Air Force Ones. They're really easy to customize. Like everyone, if they want to get into customizing, should start with a one or an Air Force One. They're damn near identical, but they're really easy to customize.
Yeah, yep. It makes sense. I mean, I think that's that like, I mean, I still have not an Air Force One or a Jordan one, but similarly, I have a pair of Dunks from like 2005 that I bought, all white, and I was like, I'm just going to make a pair of customs. Of course, I never finished it.
Nice.
Like I said, this is not my my area of specialty nor area of any kind of proficiency. Yeah. It's not for me. But I still have them they're actually in storage right now. But I
might have to bust those out.
Yeah. But it makes me think too, thinking about like customs. How realistic is it for people to wear customs after you've made them, and like, can they expect them to last the same way they would expect like a brand new pair of shoes to last? Or, you know, what's that like? Because I know customs are always one of those like back and forth things, right? Like some people love them, some people hate them, some people, you know, it's just like it's everything in sneakers somehow becomes like a pain point for someone, and like they just want to hate it for no reason. Yeah. But I always think to myself, like, if there is a reason to be like hesitant for a custom, is like if you wear it too much, then, you know, that becomes the problem, right? Like, is that the case? Are there things people can do? Can you still clean them up the way you clean up like your normal shoes? What's that like for people?
Well, I mean, customs are going to last. My customs are going to last because I prep the hell out of the shoe. You can ask any customizer out there. The one key to a great, long-lasting custom is your prep.
Going back to my car example, right? Yep. Basically, like my laziness is the problem. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Exactly. There's a difference between like taping off a shoe to customize. The only way the tape is going to leak through, or the paint is going to leak through, is if you rush your tape job around the entire shoe. If you take your time getting every little groove, little crevice, make sure the tape is down, you know, you're going to come out with crisp lines and minimal touch up, you know, and you can see that in people's work. But if you prep and you put the right top coat on, the right finish, like, you're not going to have to worry about, oh man, my paint's going to chip, or I'm not going to be able to wear this for a long time or anything like that. Of course, you're basically walking on a piece of art. So you do want to take that in and just be like, all right, this isn't an everyday beater shoe.
Yeah.
You know? So if you're just rocking it, you know, handful of times or special occasions, hey, it's fine. It's going to last. If you're using it, you know, like I know customizers where they're doing it for pro athletes, for my cleats and all that stuff. And some can last throughout the season and some come back for touch-ups. And that's just what it is, because it's really like strenuous, like wear and tear on the paint job. But no, if your prep is on point and you're making sure you're hitting every step along the way, there's going to be no problem. Like, oh man, my shoe's dirty, I got to clean it. Like, all right, no problem. Spray whatever on it. Like, it's going to be fine. You know, I've made customs for myself, so I know my custom's going to last. I don't have a problem with saying, yeah, no, it's going to last. Don't worry about it. You clean it. It's fine. Because I've had people ask me that, well, can I wipe it down with warm water? Like, yeah, you can. like it's okay. It's not a magic eraser, you know. It's not going to just wipe away. Like it's on there forever.
Yeah.
You know, but there is times where it's just like, hey, you know, be cautious. That's why a lot of people will say, which I agree, never paint a sole. Never do an outsole. Never paint an outsole, because it's a waste of paint. It's a waste of time. Like, the paint's going to crack. Like, there is nothing stopping the weight of your body, concrete, you know, just scraping all that paint off like once or twice that you're wearing it, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, other than that, it's totally fine.
So that's good to know. I've got a few ideas I'm going to eventually get your way. So, but that actually makes me think too, like, you've done some, like, obviously some pretty intense customs, right? Like, thinking of like the Jordan 4s that you did, you know, like doing like the patches on the tongue, the removable patches, like adding details, you know, like thinking about like all of the things, like, you know, we've got people that make the tongue patches. You've got people that are making replacement heel tabs, you know, like, do you think down the road we're going to see, like, I mean, I know it wouldn't come from Nike, but like, it almost seems like we're to the point where there's probably a demand for like just a Jordan 1 outsole, midsole sold separately, almost like, that's what I was thinking. Like, I know I'm talking about cars too much, but like, I keep thinking about cars, thinking like, you know, like there's a lot of like restoration parts that are like not remanufactured, but manufactured again for those people that are trying to preserve their cars. The same thing probably could be happening for, you know, like you said, those starter shoes, right? The Jordan 1, Air Force 1, the Dunks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's possible though that actually becomes a thing?
Yeah, it is, but one person isn't doing everything. It's kind of like all around. So right now, like cars, like you look at eBay, Macari, Poshmark, they're like the pick and pull. For sneakers, you know? So, but if there was someone who would who had all of the tools and all the machines, if they can press midsoles for 3s and 4s and 5s and 6s, if they can make heel tabs come and go, no problem. But it's just certain parts of a shoe, certain midsoles, certain outsoles. If there was someone who just made that all the time, it would be crazy because they would just lock down an entire sector
right.
to where I think Nike, eventually Nike's going to do it. I can see that because there's too much money there. There's way too much money to be had where it's just going to take them a long time, just like everything else. They're going to get someone who's going to watch this podcast like a couple years down the line and be like, oh, hey, I have this idea.
Right.
Yeah. And they're going to
just send us some free outsole,
like,
midsole, just send us some Jordan 1 parts. We don't need, like if you're listening and you're the person a couple years from now that does that, just be polite about it.
Exactly. I'm waiting for the person to remake the Air Revolution for all the Yeezy midsole swaps, because every Air Jordan 3 isn't going to work on it. They're not going to work. They're too wide. So like the Air Revolution is the perfect midsole to swap on a Yeezy. And like just whenever that person comes around and just starts making things like that are really hard to find, like they're going to be able to charge whatever because people are going to need it. They're going to want it. Every shoe with an air unit in it, they're going to need a midsole swap. Like down the line, sometimes it doesn't matter how well you store it.
Yep.
Like eventually it's just going to dry up. And some people love it. Some people love just leaving them on the shelf or above the fireplace, just letting them grow dust. That's cool. Some people like rocking their shoes.
Yep.
I like rocking my shoes. I don't care how old they are. If I can replace the burst air unit with some EVA foam and reglue it, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm waiting for the day to someone to just be like, oh, hey, well, I make midsoles. I make heel tabs. I make outsoles. And that's going to be the guy or girl to where it's just like, oh, yeah, you are the it of the sneaker restoration community,
Totally. It's crazy to think about that too, because I mean, you were saying Yeezys, but it's like, you forget how long it's been since like the Yeezy 1 and the Yeezy 2 from Nike came out. Right. And all the other shoes that come along that share similarities, but like not quite. Sometimes they do, sometimes they could work. I think that's really interesting because there's so many that we think of that are, that could be like, there could be like a generic replacement midsole build that could absolutely fit dozens of different shoes from that same era, right? Not the Yeezy era, but like the original, like Revolution 3s, like all that kind of stuff. But that's really interesting. I think that's kind of leads me into like the other thing I was going to ask you about, like sourcing that stuff. Like we're also like kind of probably getting to the point where, the more like if you step outside of that comfort zone of like Jordan 1s and Dunks where like, or Air Force 1s, like we know those shoes are getting reproduced every year in like massive amounts, but shoes that aren't those three, think like the Jordan 3s, 4s, that kind of era, like you said, all the way up to the 6s, maybe even 7s, where there's just like, it's getting harder and harder to source things, I'm sure. But like, as somebody who's looking for those old shoes for myself anyway, a lot of times it's hard to find stuff now. But, when you're trying to like come up with the pieces to put together these restorations, how, like what are some of the challenges that you run into with it? Like you mentioned the delays and the authentication stuff with eBay. I think that's really interesting. And I'm sure that people don't even think about that when they're hitting you up to do a restoration.
Yeah, no, man, especially if you're on a deadline and you're trying to find a certain shoe because you need the midsole or you need the heel tab or you need the tongue or you need the outsole. Like if you're trying to find it and it's just like, all right, it's over $100. So immediately it's going through authentication. So it's just like, all right, well, I need this to move fast, but it's not going to move fast because eBay and GOAT just take forever. And it's hell just to get it from authenticator to buyer. And here's an idea. GOAT, eBay, whoever the hell else. If you're buying from one state, have the authenticator in that state. You know where the shoes are going to. Okay? You know where they're going to. eBay, I just bought a pair of shoes. My authenticator was in Vegas. Yeah, it's not too far. It's a couple states over. Whatever. Not the point. I imagine there's a bunch of authenticators in the Bay Area or in Southern California that could have got them, checked them out, did the sniff test, and got them back to me really fast. But no, I waited damn near a month for some golf shoes. Luckily, I don't need them right now. They're for a personal custom that I'm going to do for the golf tournament. But it's just like things like that can really throw a wrench in what you're trying to do. But finding certain pairs for older shoes, luckily, Jordan Brand is trying to pull a mind trick on everyone by throwing out these really bad Jordan Brand like sneakers, like the Flight 91, the Flight 45. There's one that's really bad that's going to come out. Oh God, I don't know the name of it, but it has like the Ripple heel from the 8s, has the 6 outsole, and just it has a bunch of stuff on it. It's just like, all right, I see shoes like that all the time. Yeah. And like different polls on Twitter, like, oh, what's this shoe say? Like, it's great for donor parts. That's what it says. And it's just like I appreciate Jordan Brand for putting out crap like this because it's parts that I need. So I appreciate it. And sometimes they come in like different colors. It's just like, oh, wow, that could be a dope custom.
Yep.
If I just take that midsole, outsole, take that tongue or take that heel tab, that's really cool. But otherwise, it's just like, yeah, no one's wearing that. Like, that's going to your outlet, and then it's going to your clearance. And then after that, I don't know what the hell happens to it.
Yeah. What's funny is, like, they do that. They've done that so many times, right? Like, when it comes to Jordans, I love the new stuff. Like, if it's new, no retro involved, like, I'm a big fan of a lot of the stuff that they do. Like, they've done some really interesting stuff. And then I'm like full on retro. Everything in between that's like a combination of retros, it's never entertaining to me. I have no interest in it. Like, even back to like, I know people like the Spizike and the Dub Zero, but like those shoes to me are just, they're terrible. I don't like them at all. Probably because my nostalgia for all the OG Jordan stuff just hits the brick wall of like, this just looks like something that was sold, on a fake site in the early 2000s, Yeah. But it's really interesting because like,
and that's the thing.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say it's interesting because I forget what the one that just came out, is it the Delta 40 or something like that? Like one of the ones that came out just recently actually sold really well. And it was the first color, so it was probably limited, and like other colorways are sitting, but it's like sail and black, and then there was like a sail and gray, and like they're gonna do like a royal, black and royal version of it, and it's kind of like running shoe vibes. It's got a little bit of like Jordan 1 look, but it's got like obviously some other features from, I think there's a little bit of 5s on there, and it's unique materials. And it's, it's like, oh, maybe it's a Formula 40 or Formula 23 or something. I can't remember what it is, but
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's not a bad looking shoe. If I've never seen like the original Jordans, I probably like that shoe. But like for me personally, like I see it and I just see like this kind of like hack job of a shoe. And I don't mean, it's not a hack job, because I know like the work that goes into designing the shoe, and the work, a lot of that stuff is like actually crazy comfortable too, because they put, you're getting an older style shoe or an older aesthetic of a shoe with like modern cushioning, and like maybe that's like a good combination for some people. But yeah, it is really interesting. And like, I never really think about like, that's actually probably, behind the scenes, that's probably one of the reasons that they're dropping so many of those shoes, is for the customizers. Yeah. It's like you customizing shoes actually helps them marketing, like as much as like, it's great for you to be on, Good Day Sacramento and talk about what you do. Like they're still like getting shine from you customizing Jordans at the end of the day. So like, I'm sure they're like, yeah, let's just keep making these like weird hybrid models, and people cut them up to restore the regular Jordans.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I love it. I love seeing just different things where it's just like, man, that would look crappy on an original pair or a retro, but on a custom, like that really works. There's like glow in the dark, like Air Jordan 3 soles for like a Spizike, where it's just like, all right, I would hate it if it was on a retro, but for this custom, it works great. Yeah. Different things like that. And hey, like Dub Zeros, not a fan. Was never a fan. The first couple of Spizikes, the white pair and the black pair, when those came out, it was just like it was something that we haven't seen before, and the colorways just hit, and that's where it was just like, oh, those are dope.
Yeah.
But now they're damn near the SpongeBob 11s.
Well, and that's the problem. Like, it's like, I feel like Nike and Jordan see a little bit of profit and they're like, just run with it. Like we talk about this on the show a lot, right? It's the, depending on when and how into sneakers you are, it's the Spizikes, the Dub Zeros, the retros, honestly, from like 2006 Air Jordan 14s and honestly 2006, 2007 quality across Jordan brand was just like really poor, and they just were making money, printing money, and they do that all the time, and it's just a part of things for them now. Like the React, the Element Reacts, right? Like first two pairs like sell out like crazy. The shoe pops off, and the next thing you know, there's like 150 colorways over the next 18 months. And it's just like, whoa, man. Like, and I think that shoe looks dope. It wasn't comfortable to me. Like I actually returned my pair because it like I put it on and it was like one of those shoes where it just cuts into your like upper ankle or whatever. And I was like, it's not worth it for me. Yeah. But I think it looks super dope. Like I wanted the pair so bad when they first came out, because like, oh, this is different and it's React cushioning. But yeah, I'm sure like I wouldn't want to work for, nothing against any of the brands, but I just wouldn't want to work for Jordan or Nike when they've got to deal with like all the people that want nostalgia and all the people that are telling them to make new product, and how difficult that is to like maximize profits before you just like have, the hash wall full of all these shoes at the end of the day. But yeah. Well, so we're about up on time, I think, but I wanted to ask, what else is in the works from you, what you're excited about that's coming down the line, and obviously make sure that you get some time to tell the folks how to find you.
I got a couple of things working for the golf tournament in Tahoe. I'm in talks with an athlete to do a pair, and we're just kind of getting ideas to see what we're going to do. I'm going to do a pair for myself, you know, so I can go out and mingle with the people and try to drum up some business for myself. I'm going to have some business cards made so I can get that out there, and I'm going to do a free giveaway with that. I haven't got all the details done yet, but once I do, I'm going to put it on all my accounts, and whoever sees me out there and they get a card, it's going to be a thing where it might be like a color changing thing. So if you're one of the lucky 2 that get a card where it changes colors, then you're going to end up with a free custom.
Nice.
You know,
all right.
Other than that, I'm just going to keep on pushing, man. I'm in talks to do a Oregon Duck custom where I think it'll make some noise, you know.
Nice.
But other than that, I keep on challenging myself with everything that I do. I want to be able to do portraits. So I'm learning and working and practicing and watching how to do portraits, because I think it's really cool when someone could just put so much time and detail and their own emotion into a piece on a shoe, to where it's just like, damn, this person has burst out in tears from just seeing, you know, this image on the shoe. I think that's really cool. So working on that. I'm still working on learning how to sew.
Nice.
So I can do a couple of crazy projects that I want to do, and that I've talked to our Discord members, Gregatron and Dalton, about. You know, one day I'm going to do it, because I just love how they were. The Jeremy Scott inspired Winnie the Pooh ones for myself. It's going to happen. You know,
Nice.
So I'm just learning how to sew, so I can make that dream a reality. But, you know, just other than that, just grow, you know, and hopefully down the line, you know, we could get something going to where I'm talking to other restorers and customizers, you know, on this channel. Maybe.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
See.
Yeah, we got to. Hey, if you're a customizer or a restorer, you know, like, even if you're just starting out cleaning, you know, like, hit us up. Let's figure out how to do this. Like, we definitely can make some room to have these conversations and support, you know, the next generation of customizers. Because I think that's what I was going to say too. You kind of alluded to it with the portraits and the emotion that kind of can be conveyed on these custom shoes, that, you know, people don't realize how like they've become the vessel for so many stories. The shoes carry those stories in so many ways. And yeah, we see like the like marketing and the manufactured stories from the brands, and like those are important, but like we all have personal stories, which
some of them are.
Yeah, you know, but like we all have personal stories that will like really get to us and really make us feel something. Yeah. And I think that's like really, it's beautiful that you've been able to kind of like be working on yourself and your stuff and your craft as all of this has grown too, because, you know, I feel like, and this is not just to anybody that customizes shoes, but like, I feel like for a little while there, all the customs that were coming out felt very like commercial and very transactional, where it was like, I get that that's a thing, right? Like everybody's got to earn a living. And honestly, like for you, if somebody came along and is like, hey, we're a big brand, here's the bag, I'm going to be like applauding in the background, you know, like get your money, make those customs, like, you know, whatever that is, you know, I think the brands do it on a huge level, right? The Jarritos Nike SBs are a perfect example of like, you know, they're really making just a custom at like a manufacturer level in a sense with that. And I think that's like such a beautiful thing to see all of that kind of come together and also kind of like come like back to almost like the roots of like why people wanted to customize shoes in the beginning, right? They wanted it to be different. They wanted it to be unique and theirs. And, you know, like you add that portrait element to creating that. And like, now it's like, damn, not only is it my shoe, but it's like my story. It's my family. It's my friends. It's this thing that I'm passionate about, you know, and that to me is super dope. So, but yeah, man, it's always good to catch up with you. I love talking to you, man.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Gotta grab a burrito the next time I'm back in Sacramento for sure. And, you know, make sure you let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me at Marrio_restores on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. My email is mariorestores@yahoo.com. I'm open for questions. You know, anyone has a question on customs or restorations, I'm here to help if you need it. All you got to do is ask.
Right on, man. Thanks for being who you are and for coming on and chatting with me. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I'll see you this weekend in the Discord. So. Thanks.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, watching, listening, wherever you're at. Make sure you hit subscribe, give us a like, a follow, all those things that we do when we're asking for support on the internet. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.